Whenever you're down, out in the cold, faithless and dark, your story's untold. Come take my hand and walk there with me. I know a place where we can be free. There is a light shining for you, guiding your way, helping you through. When shadows and gloom are all that you see, we'll find a place where we can be free. From the mountaintop down to the deepest valley, hear a voice calling you. It's the rising sun shining in the darkest valley. Can't you see you will be free? I have been far, I have been wide, searching for peace, somewhere to hide. Now I am free, open and pure, fearless and babe, I am secure. There is no dark that can't be lit. We'll find a way if we just commit. We are one. There is no them and us. Together we're strong. Together we're free. From the mountaintop down to the deepest valley, hear a voice calling you. It's the rising sun shining in the darkest valley. Can't you see you will be free? Can't you see you will be free? You will be free. Whenever you're down, out in the cold, faithless and dark, your story's untold. Come take my hand and walk there with me. I know a place where we can be free. There is a light shining for you, guiding your way, helping you through. When shadows and gloom are all that you see, we'll find a place where we can be free. From the mountaintop down to the deepest valley, hear a voice calling you. It's the rising sun shining in the darkest valley. Can't you see you will be free? I have been far, I have been wide, searching for peace, somewhere to hide. Now I am free.
All right, good morning, y'all. So we back another week, finishing up chapter 5, you guys. We're gonna finish up chapter 5 today. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like I said, if I get to anything that you guys want to go over, or you guys got questions or like want to add on to anything, just go ahead and let me know as I'm reading it. You guys got any input about anything? Got any experience about what you done did as far as what I might be reading? Just let me know. Give me some type of insight and we can elaborate on that. So 5-18, assigning document, transaction, or voucher numbers. Property adjustment actions are processed in accountable property systems that may assign a transaction number or document number may be assigned in hard copy document registers per AR-735-5. Voucher numbers may also be assigned for related financial adjustments and stock records. Assign a document, transaction, or voucher number to property adjustment documents per the following instructions. Non-expendable property book level, assign a document transaction number from the non-expendable document register to any adjustment document listed in paragraphs 4-1 and 4-2 and tables 4-1 and 4-2 that list non-expendable property or any other property that requires property book accountability. Expendable or durable property unit level, assign a document transaction number from the expendable durable document register to those adjustment documents listing only expendable or durable items that do not require property book accountability. Non-expendable, expendable, or durable items, stock record activity level, assign a transaction number or voucher number from a stock record activity voucher register to any document described in paragraph 4-1 and 4-2 and tables 4-1 and 4-2 that list supply system stocks. Destroyed property. See glossary for definition. If the destroyed item can be sufficiently identified to complete a turn-in of the residue or damaged item, do not assign a document transaction number to DD Form 200 or DA Form 7923. Use the turn-in document to adjust the property records. If the destroyed item is completely unrecognizable, for example, scrap, ash, or similarly completely destroyed, assign a document number or transaction number to DD Form 200 or DA Form 7923. Document transactions or voucher numbers are not assigned when property is damaged. Do not assign a document transaction number to DD Form 200 or DA Form 7923. There are no accountable record adjustment for these items. Damaged property is removed from organizational accountable records through subsequent disposition documents for supply transactions per 710-4, such as turn-in or transfer to a depot facility for repair or rebuild. The APO will only complete DD Form 200, Block 17B through 17F for damaged property. Okay, so property is lost due to combat actions. Property is damaged and classified as unserviceable as a result of combat action or combat-related accident. Okay, so sorry if y'all hear my dog in the background. She's getting kind of loud, so I'm gonna keep going. Where was I at? So losses due to combat will only be removed from property records through the turn-in of the equipment residue per AR-710-4. Combat losses may also require additional reporting per AR-710-1 and AR-710-3. The APSR or other accountable record system does not generate a document or transaction number. Some types of adjustment transaction may also not generate a unique transaction number in the APSR. The APO will enter no document transaction number assigned in DD Form 200, Block 17A, and complete Block 17B through 17F. There is no property record adjustment to process. In some situations, no further adjustment actions are required to to property records. For example, a loss of government property which was not posted to accountable record may still require administrative action per 4-3 to recoup the government's loss of value or to assess or relieve from financial liability for the loss. In another example, expendable items are considered consumed for financial and inventory purposes when issued from an APSR but still require control during use, and subsequent losses may require administrative action per 4-3, paragraph 4-3. If there is no further property record adjustment, the APO will enter no property record adjustment. In Form 200, DD Form 200, Block 17A, and complete Block 17B through 17 Foxtrot. So, hopefully y'all, did y'all get anything from that chapter? Because what I got was basically letting us know about the document numbers and transaction numbers, you guys. So we're going to move on to 5-19, where it talks about appointing and approving authority criteria. Appointing and approving authority criteria. Approving authority. In most cases, for Army garrison, senior commanders will be the approving authority for flippers arising within their command or under their supervision. The minimum grades for approving authorities are shown in paragraphs 5/5/519B and paragraph 5/19C. So you guys can go to those paragraphs, which I'm gonna go over in a minute, about the minimum grade. So for flippers containing recommendations affecting general officers or SCS employees, the next general officer or SCS employee in the chain of command of senior to a general officer or SCS employee being recommended for assessment of or relief from financial liability becomes the approving authority. The approving authority would normally be senior to the appointing authority. The approving authority for flippers is also the approving authority for inventory adjustment reports for inventory discrepancies and stock record accounts. Regular Army and U.S. Army Reserve Army officers in command positions in the grade of 06 or above, DA civilian employees in supervisory positions in the grade of GS-15, Chief of Headquarters, Department of the Army, staff agencies, ACOM, ASCC, and or DRU commanders are approving authorities for flipper arising within their command or under their supervision. For financial liability investigations assessing a final physical loss or loss of accountability, damage or destruction of $250,000 or greater, or physical loss or loss of accountability of a control item, the approval authority will be the first general officer, SES or GS-15 employee in the chain of command or supervision. Commanders in the grade of 06 in a general officer command position or officers in the grade of 06 assigned as the deputy commander to the commanding general are permitted to approve the flipper as the approving authority on behalf of the commanding general. This level of approving authority cannot be delegated. Commanders in the grade of 06 or above, Chief of Headquarters, Chief of HQDA, staff agencies, and ACOM, ASCC, and or DRU commanders may delegate approving authority to an armor officer in the grade of 06 or above, or a DA civilian employee in the grade of GS-15. If a command or agency is not headed by an army officer in the grade of 06 or above, or a DA civilian employee in the supervisory position in the grade of GS-15, the approval authority would be the first individual in the chain of supervision or support agreement who so qualifies. If this individual does not also meet the criteria in paragraph 5-19B, financial liability investigation assessing a final loss of $250,000 or greater, or loss of a control item must be elevated to the next approving authority in the command who meets the criteria. Approving authority in the grade of colonel or GS-15 or above may delegate in writing approving authority to an army officer in the rank of lieutenant colonel or GS-14 for financial liability investigation assessing a final physical loss or loss of accountability, damage or destruction of $5,000 or less that do not include equipment classified as cosmetic, sensitive items, or equipment that contains personal identification information. Army National Guard, for financial liability investigation assessing a final loss of $250,000 or greater or loss of a control item, the approving authority will be the first general officer or SCS employee in the chain of command. Officers in the grade of 06 with the promotable status or in the general officer command position, or officer in the grade of 06 or DA civilian GS-15 assigned as the deputy commander to the commanding general are permitted to approve the FLIPL as the approving authority on behalf of the commanding general. This level of approving authority cannot be delegated. Commanders in the grade of 06 federally recognized are authorized to be appointed as the approving authority for all other FLIPL arising within their command. The CNGB or designated representative of the CNGB may authorize an adjutant general to delegate or appoint in writing a colonel assigned to a command billet awaiting federal recognition to be appointed as an approved authority. The CNGB may authorize state adjutants general to appoint lieutenant colonels as appointing and approving officials in the absence of a Colonel 06. If designated by the CNGB, a state's USPFO will be the final reviewing authority for all financial liability investigations in all cases except those involving general officers or probable state liability, where there is probable general officer involvement or state liability. The CNGB or designated representative will act as the appointing authority, approving and reviewing authority. Approving authorities in the rank of 06 or GS-15 or above may delegate in writing approving authority to an Army officer in the rank of Lieutenant Colonel or GS-14 for financial liability investigations assessing a final loss of $5,000 or less that do not include equipment classified as cosmetic, sensitive items, and or equipment that contains PII. Appointing authority, regular Army and U.S. Army Reserve. See glossary for definition. The minimum grades of appointing authorities are shown in paragraph 5-19 Delta through 5-19 1 and 3. Commanders, activity supervisors, chiefs of HQDA staff agencies, ACOM, ASCC, or Drew commanders in the grade of colonel or above or GS-15 may designate individuals to act as appointing authorities using informal memorandums with copies provided to all subordinate commanders and or supervisors. Individuals designated must be. Okay, so the individuals designated must be Lieutenant Colonel or Major, 04 filing as Lieutenant Colonel Billet, a DOD civilian employee, GS-13 or above, or GS-12 filing a GS-13 position on the personal authorization document. The first colonel in chain of command when a general officer or SCS is approving authority for loss or damage of $250,000 above or loss of control item. When the U.S. Army Material Command, a major serving as commander of a depot activity, GS-15 civilian executive assistant, CEA, not co-located with its next higher headquarters. The CNCGB or designated representative may authorize the adjutant grade of lieutenant colonel delegation of approving authority. Regular Army and U.S. Army Reserve. General officers in command positions who do not have subordinate commanders, general officers with subordinate commanders below the rank of colonel, general officers who are chiefs of HQDA staff agencies and ACOM, ASCC, and or Drew commanders may delegate approving authority for flippers. Delegation must be in writing. Individuals delegated approving authorities for flippers must be an Army officer in the grade of colonel or above or be a DA civilian in a supervisory position in the grade of GS-15 or above. In addition, the individual must be a member of the general command or staff. Army National Guard. The CNGB may authorize state adjutants general to delegate approval of authority to lieutenant colonels occupying colonel command billets and awaiting general recognition to colonel. The CNGB may authorize general officers in command position who do not have subordinate commanders to delegate in writing approval authority to members of their staff. Individual delegated must be a federally recognized colonel or above. The CNGB or designated representative may authorize the AG to delegate or appoint in writing approval authority to members of the staff in the grade of colonel or above. If authorized by the CNGB, the AG may designate a centralized approval authority for some of the commands, for some or all of the commands in the state. Such designees must be seen to all the commanders over whom approval authority is exercised, and such centralization must not preclude exercising appeal authority within the state. Such designation carries with it all the responsibilities of approval authority enumerated elsewhere in this pamphlet. These responsibilities may not be split or further delegated. All right, so we just did 5-19, you guys. We're going to move on to 5-20. Initial review by the appointing authority or approving authority. On receipt of DD Form 200 from the APO, the appointing authority or the approving authority, if there is no appointing authority, will review the information in blocks 9, 10, and 12, along with any exhibits provided by the initiator, and determine if a flipper has been directed by a higher authority, directed by other DA regulations, or requested by an APO. Sufficient information exists to provide a clear understanding of the circumstances surrounding the loss or damage of government property and to determine the proximate cause. The expense of performing an investigation by a financial liability officer is worth the significant expenditure of time and effort. Conflict of interest, you guys. No person may act as an appointed authority or the approving authority who has had personal responsibility or accountability for the property listed on DD Form 200 at the time the property became lost, damaged, or destroyed. In such cases, the next higher commander or DA civilian employee in the chain of command or supervision will act as the appointing authority or the approving authority. As appropriate, approving and appointing authorities must remain free from conflict of interest. Supervising the financial liability investigation of property loss system. Okay, so now we on 5-22. The approving authority will ensure the flipper system works to promptly discover, hold on, let me read the title. So supervising the financial liability investigation of property loss system. The approving authority will ensure the flipper system works to promptly discover, report, and investigate the LDDT of government property. The approving authority ensures that responsible persons keep themselves informed as to whether any property for which they are responsible or accountable for becomes lost, damaged, or destroyed. Initiation, processing, and and adjudication of flippers takes place within the time limits as prescribed in this pamphlet. Financial liability officers are thoroughly briefed on how to conduct a financial liability investigation and are provided with a copy per this regulation. They are also informed of any specific time restraints. Administrative action takes place to correct the cause of avoidable delays exceeding the processing time limits established by this regulation. The approving authority assigns the inquiry or investigation number prior to submitting the flipper to the APO or for a document register or voucher number. Enter the inquiry or investigation number in block 2 of DD Form 200. Obtain the inquiry or investigation number prior to the document or prior to the document or voucher number to ensure the approving authority is aware and tracking the financial liability investigation prior to the APO decreasing the property from accountable records. Form the inquiry or investigation number using the approving authority's unit identification code. The two-digit year the inquiry or investigation number is assigned, and the serial numbering system determined by the approving authority. The inquiry or investigation number can be up to 44 characters. An example is this right here. Maintain the flipper register per the flipper EUM or DA Form 1659 when permitted for temporary hard copy processing per 5-1, and maintain files of approved flippers per AR-25-400-2. Normally, the flipper records and the files of approved flippers are maintained at the headquarters of the approving authority. This includes the battalion or brigade logistics officer, division, corps, or theater support command G4 logistics readiness center, or other subordinate staff elements as designated by the approving authority. Exceptions to this policy are allowed when the logistics staff offices are consolidated at a command level above the approving authority, such as brigade adjutants consolidated at the division G4. Under this scenario, the register and associated files may be maintained at the division G4. The flipper register may be maintained at a centralized office on the installation, provided inquiry or investigation number are assigned to all flipper initiated for those organizations supported. When this option is used, the approving authority still has the responsibility to appoint the financial liability officer per paragraph 6-4. Both the office maintaining the flipper register and the approving authority's headquarters will maintain file copies of the approved flippers. Brigade and higher level head commanders with subordinate approving authorities for flippers will initiate and conduct oversight management of the flipper process at subordinate commands. Each quarter, commanders will review a random sample of no less than 10% of flippers approved by subordinate commands during the previous quarter. So that was 5-22. You guys, we're going to move on to 5-23. Review to determine if financial liability officer or AR-15-6 investigating officer is necessary. The appointing authority, when designated, or the approving authority, if there is no appointing authority, reviews the flipper to decide whether a financial liability officer is necessary. If needed, the appointing authority or the approving authority, as appropriate, completes block 13 and sign a memorandum appointing a financial liability officer per chapter 6. When the appointing authority, when designated, or the approving authority briefs the financial liability officer on how to conduct the investigation and advises him or her of time restraints, the appointing authority or approving authority, if there is no appointing authority, appoints the AR-15-6 officer using a memorandum per AR-15-6 and will provide the flipper with all exhibits to the investigating officer. Decision by the approving authority without further investigation. Conditions. This action provides the approving authority the option of shortening the flipper process when the facts and circumstances permit. When the appointing authority has not been designated by the approving authority, DD Form 200, Block 13C is left blank. When the appointing authority has not been designated by the authority. Relief from responsibility. When the approving authority determines from the information in DD Form 200, Blocks 9 and 10 and attached exhibits, there is no evidence of negligence, he or she may provide relief from responsibility by entering X in the box adjacent to approve in Block 14A, completing blocks 14B through 14H, and placing the following statement in Block 14B to relieve all concern of property accountability and responsibility. I have reviewed the information in blocks 9 and 10. No further investigation is required. I do not suspect negligence or willful misconduct. I relieve all concern and financial liability for the property listed in blocks 4 through 6. Assessment of financial liability. When the approving authority can establish from the information contained on DD Form 200, blocks 9, 10, and 12, and when attached exhibits prove that negligence or willful misconduct was the proximate cause of the loss or damage, financial liability may be assessed by ensuring that all actions normally performed by the financial liability investigations officer are performed, such as determining actual value of loss and amount of charges, preparing a memorandum to the respondent stating intent to assess financial liability without further investigation. The memorandum will include the facts on which the proposed charge of financial liability is based, computation of the actual loss, and the amount of financial liability to be charged. The memorandum will include an explanation of the respondent's rights as described in Chapter 11. A complete copy of DD Form 200 with copies of all exhibits is attached to the memorandum as an enclosure. Instruct the respondent to complete Block 16A through 16G before returning the flipper to the approving authority. Considering a rebuttal statement to the flipper, if one is received, along with any new evidence provided or with allegations of error presented by the respondent, the approval authority will make appropriate comments and attach the rebuttal statement and remarks to the flipper as exhibits. Prepare memorandum to the respondent when the approving authority changes assessment based on the rebuttal. Notify the respondent of assessment change. On receipt and review of the rebuttal statement or upon expiration of the time allowed the respondent to submit a rebuttal statement, forwarding the flipper to the installation legal advisor for a legal opinion with all exhibits and a copy of the memorandum to the respondent containing the facts on which proposed assessment of financial liability is based. On receipt of the legal opinion, if such opinion supports the approval authority's recommendations, completing blocks 14A through 14H and inserting a statement in block 14B to assess financial liability against an individual, which gives final approval to hold the respondent financial liable. Use a statement similar to the following: approved to hold name grade EDIP financial liable in the amount of name and grade monthly basic pay at the time of the loss was. Notify respondents of approved charges of financial liability and provide the opportunity to exercise their rights as listed in paragraph 11-3. If the legal opinion does not support the recommendations as written, adjust as needed or confer with the legal advisor. Okay, so that was 5-24, you guys. So recommendation by the appointing authority without further investigation. This action provides the appointing authority when designated the option to recommend shortening the flipper process when sufficient information is available for the approving authority to make an assessment of or relief from liability without further investigation. The short financial liability investigation does not relieve the appointing and or approving authority from performing actions normally conducted by the investigating officer if liability is assessed, such as determining actual value of loss and the amount of charges. Relief from responsibility. When the appointing authority determines from the information on DD Form 200, blocks 9, 10, and 12, and attached exhibits that no evidence of negligence or willful misconduct exists, the appointing authority may recommend to the approving authority relief from responsibility by completing Block 13, explaining the reason to relieve the individual of responsibility for the property. Assessment of financial liability. When the appointing authority can establish from the information contained in DD Form 200, blocks 9, 10, and 12, and attached exhibits that negligence or willful misconduct was the proximate cause of the loss and damage of government property, the appointing authority prepares a memorandum to the individual suspected of financial liability stating the intent to recommend charges of financial liability without further investigation. The memorandum will include the facts on which the recommended charges of the financial liability are based, computation of the actual loss, and the amount of financial liability being recommended. The memorandum will include an explanation of the respondent's rights as described in paragraph 11-3. A complete copy of the flipper, including copies of all the exhibits, is attached to the memorandum as an enclosure. Instruct the respondent to complete blocks 16A through 16G before returning the flipper to the appointing authority. Evaluates the merit of any rebuttal statement if received, considers the flipper along with any new evidence provided or allegations of error presented by the respondent, and makes appropriate comments and attach the rebuttal statement and remarks to the flipper as exhibits. When a rebuttal statement is received after the time allotted for a rebuttal has expired, consider any new evidence presented by the respondent. If appropriate, amends the recommendations and forward the amended recommendation by memorandum through the same channel. Hold on, where I'm at. Through the same channels. The financial liability investigation was processed. Allotting this time will ensure soldier receives due process. States in Block 13B that further investigation is not required. Enter the words, see Block 15A for appointing authority recommendation. Complete Blocks 13C through 13H. Enters a recommendation in Block 15A regarding the charge of financial liability and the amount of financial liability being recommended. A statement explaining the facts on which the appointing authority recommendation is based, the name and grade of those individuals being recommended for charges of financial liability. Complete Blocks 15. All documents must be forwarded to the approving authority to review findings and recommendation. So you guys, so we just completed chapter 5, you guys. So went over approving authorities, appointing authorities, assigning voucher document numbers, when determining whether a 15-6 or a financial liability officer is necessary. So it's basically just more dealing with flippers, you guys, supervising the financial liability investigation of property loss. So conflicts of interest. So the approving and the appointing authority can't be involved in the flipper if they had something to do with the property that's being investigated or lost or damaged or whatever. They can't be involved in it. 5-19, the appointing and approving authority. That's basically telling you guys what the minimum grades for the approving and appointing authorities, and if appointing or approving authorities, they can basically end the investigation if they find the person to be, if they find it to be negligence or willful misconduct. They can just, it's certain things they can put inside the DD Form 200, blocks 9, 10, and 12 that can end the investigation, basically. So that's all I got today for you guys, man. We finished chapter 5. Next week, of course, we'll be on chapter 6. So, chapter 6 next week is appointment of financial liability officer, you guys. So we're gonna go over that next week, next Sunday, and I'll see you guys then. Have a good day.